The biggest number of people are in desperate need of the most aid in decades, warns the UN as it launches its humanitarian appeal for the next year. After the Taliban takeover, Afghanistan tops the list with a call for $4.5 billion of aid to help more than 24 million people. Syria comes next out of 37 nations and regions, with $4.2 billion needed to help 14 million people in the ongoing war, while more than 20 million people in Yemen need just under $4 billion in help in that country's entrenched conflict. And as our diplomatic editor James Bays reports, the global total is staggering.
The humanitarian situation around the world was already the worst it's been at any time in recent years. But now the UN says it's deteriorating even more. In 2022, it's estimated that 274 million people will be in need of humanitarian assistance, a 17% rise. And the UN is appealing for a record amount for its annual appeal, $41 billion. The UN's Under-Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs, Martin Griffiths, struggled when asked to name the worst crisis.
I think Ethiopia is the most concerning. I mean, it's a terrible thing to have to choose between, places of such great need. South Sudan is at its worst, and it barely gets a mention. You'll remember when Haiti had that extraordinary earthquake back in the middle of August. It didn't make the news for that week because, of course, the Taliban were walking into Kabul on that time. So it feels somewhat improper somehow to choose among these places.
In some of the humanitarian emergencies, for example, Somalia or the Democratic Republic of Congo, the situation has been bad for decades and it's not getting any better. In some places, though, in 2021, notably Ethiopia, Myanmar and Afghanistan, things got much worse. A flash appeal for Afghanistan in September was a success. It's now over 100% funded. But the collapse of the economy, coupled with the worst drought for over 30 years, means much more funding is now needed. More and more Afghans are struggling to survive, here selling their clothes on the street, in a country where it's estimated the price of bread has gone up 80% in just a few months.